March 2nd. So if you go to the Difference Maker website, you click the Idea Challenge link. From there, you click the Idea Platform portal link, and then you log in with your student credentials, and you can submit your idea plan. So on the front desk, if you haven't gotten one yet, we printed out a sheet just so you can see all of the different questions that you'll have to complete and submit in the idea plan portal. And you should have also received a toolkit packet. So each workshop is based on one of the toolkit sheets. So completing that toolkit packet will help you then submit your idea plan. Once your idea plan is submitted, we have judges who read and score those idea plans and also give you feedback. And then based off of those scores, 30 to 35 teams will move on to the first pitch competition. So you want to make sure that the idea plan is really well done, well written, and well thought out, and we're all here to help you with that. So,
How's preparation going? Guys on track? Time to pull your hair up? 1 week, right? 1 week?
about a week, yeah.
About a week.
Yeah.
If there's no pressure, it's no fun, right?
All right, so I'll give this to you.
Thanks.
All right. Let's get started.
So the concept of a business model. What do you think a business model is? Just broad level. Somebody said to you, describe to me for your proposed venture, tell me what your business model is. What would that describe? Anybody? Hang on.
Describes what you're planning on selling.
Yeah. Describes what you're selling. That's part of it. What else?
How you're gonna make money?
Very important. How are you going to make money? What you're selling, how are you going to make money?
Preparation list for your first launch.
Preparation list for your first launch. So let me paraphrase. All those things that you're going to need to do to get ready for launch and keep your business running after launch. So your manufacturing, your support, all that stuff within your company to do. Yep. Anybody else? In reality, it's all, hang on.
What your business is trying to solve and achieve.
So what you're trying to solve and achieve, so let me paraphrase that. The value that you're bringing and the problem that you're looking to solve. Absolutely. It's all of that. So let's put you up there and see if you can describe these. FedEx. What's FedEx's business model?
Package delivery and carrier.
Package delivery carrier. Yes. Who were they competing with before they came in to the market? UPS and the mail service, right? They were using the same types of trucks, most likely, same types of people. What was different about their business model? Fundamentally, they told people, we're going to get it to you next day, right? Next day. So underlying their business model, in many ways, looked like the competitors when they came in. But their niche, their piece, was we're going to provide service to get there overnight. Zipcar. How many have heard of Zipcar? Right? What's Zipcar's model?
People rent cars.
Rent cars, but traditional rental car. You have to rent for a day, a week. So the smallest increment is what? Could be half an hour, could be an hour. So they have the technology and the business model to provide shorter term rentals that was enabled by things like the technology at the vehicle, the applications that they brought out there, and they carved out a niche below the traditional rental market in their spaces. Pretty interesting. PillPack. Who's heard of PillPack?
They prepare all your bills and overnight them.
Thanks a lot.
Sorry. They pack your medications and pills and organize them before you get them. So it's easy to manage.
Yeah. So how many of you, either somebody in your immediate family, potentially your grandparents, on a day-to-day basis, have 3, 5, 10 different medications that they have to take daily, potentially multiple times a day? And so managing those pills and the compliance with those medications is a challenge. PillPack came in and said, as opposed to you, the customer, going to your pharmacy, get us to get your pills, we will bring them to our site, we will package them in single-serve plastic packaging and date it and time it so that all you need to do at that day on that, at that date, at that time, open up this package. Now, by the way, insurers will cover it, so you don't need to worry about anything. Huge. They recently, in the last year, got acquired by Amazon. Pretty compelling. So compliance goes up, right? Ease of use goes up. No worrying about, am I taking the right pill at the right time? So they've effectively created an easy-to-use online pharmacy that increases compliance. Now, there's a lot more behind that. Pretty compelling. What's the business model for Gillette and other shavers? It's, we sell you the shaver, we jack up the price on the blades, and it's that razor blade business model that's the total solution. Because seriously, how much does a blade really cost? Yeah, it's nothing. How much do we pay for a package of 10? It's enormous, like $15 or more. Pretty compelling. And then the last one, Facebook. What is Facebook's business model? What's their business model? What are they selling? And
Easy communication.
they're selling easy communication. Really? Amen. They are truly in the business of selling all of your information. Right? Because what do? They give away for free something that all of us value. Right? I love this cartoon. Think about it. Right? That's the Facebook business model. And all of us are the pigs that are getting fat, nice and fat, and ready for slaughter. Because we think their business model is to serve us. Their business model is to hook us and understand our behaviors and package that all up and sell it to the people who really care. The advertisers and others who want our eyeballs and want our dollars for their stuff, right? So the business model that you're thinking about can be any of that or more. And that business model is not the path you take from idea to venture, though all of this is important, but it's that model that you're eventually going to aspire to when you're up there in the market and allow you to do all those things that we talked about in the beginning. Okay, what we're selling, to who, at what price, based on getting all of our stuff in the back end together, as well as our partnerships and other relationships we need to make ourselves a viable, long-term, ongoing, profitable business. Make sense? And it talks about, in some ways, and it considers all the risks. All these things that we need to do around the technology. And is it ready for prime time? Around the market. Is it real? Am I going to have real customers? Can I pull the right team together to get it done? Because let's be serious, it's never, well maybe it is, but today, it's very rarely a sole entrepreneur. And it's all those regulatory and broader risks that my business model needs to address so that I feel certain that I'm never going to be risk-free. There's no risk-free. But then when I get to that point of launch and growth, that I reduce the risk to a point where my chances of success are pretty compelling. So let me put this up here. These three buckets. And this, be thinking about this because it ties into your business model. You talk, and I love talking about this in the framework of eventually going out and looking for funding. And we were talking about that beforehand. The story that those funders are going to be looking for you to tell them is, do you have compelling technology, a compelling solution? That's the product and technology. Do you have a compelling market? Somebody who has a problem that you're addressing that problem, solving that for them, and you're giving them the solution in a way that's compelling. And that third bucket, do you have the right team, whether internally or through partnerships, to actually get it done? This triad. So those three pieces coming together, elements of that in the business model, and because they see so many pitches all the time, they've developed kind of a pattern recognition thing. And everything can get boiled down to one of these three buckets. And so when you look at this, ultimately, you're looking for this, that product market fit. That's at the core of your business model. A compelling solution that solves a need. And when we look at these business model canvases, the value proposition is smack dab in the middle. And it's smack dab in the middle because it is the most important thing that you have to be able to communicate effectively. If you cannot communicate this piece right here, why what you're doing is compelling to the market, game over. Okay? That needs to be there. And how these three pieces come together is a really core piece of how you position yourselves with those external stakeholders, funders, partners, internal early employees who you're trying to convince, hey, come work with me. I don't have any money to pay you, but I got a really great venture for you to come on and volunteer your time for. And hopefully at some point, I can give you something. So, do you want to jump in and talk?
No, you can keep going, but I have a question for you.
Okay.
When you go back and you looked at the timeline, I think there's one slide for this.
Yeah.
That's awfully linear.
It's never linear, okay? This is a graphic to show you, just conceptually, idea to impact. But damn, it is never, ever. Not only that, I tend to advise folks, there are three, there's more. There's a tech track, a business track, a team track, venture track, and you're constantly going back and forth around those three overall. But to Professor Mack's point, it's never linear, okay? You never.
And is it okay to change your business model midstream? Like, if what these young entrepreneurs write down today, does it lock them in, or does that change?
So how many, so on this slide, there are statistics from the, now, 10 years ago, 15 years ago, how many of you heard of a business plan? Business plan, raise your hand. Okay? 10, 15 years ago, business plan, 50, 60, 80, 100-page document, all kinds of information, lots of research, okay? That they thought they needed to do to put it in front of funders and others. That's not the way things are done today. Because the situation, Professor Mack's point, is too dynamic. It's way too dynamic. So back in the day, from business plan to venture success, how many of them, percentage-wise, could truthfully say the thing that built that 80 to 100-page document around was exactly the same thing I was successful with when I started selling my product and scaling out? What percentage do you think? Huh? You know, low single digits. There were some, probably in that 2 to 3 to 4 to 5% range. Because things change. But what is the value of putting a stake in the ground in those early days? What's the value? Yeah, to have a starting point, right? Because if you don't do that, it's all wishy-washy, okay? But it's gonna change. That's great. Question?
So you're saying it's okay to expand into new ideas constantly, into different markets,
Good question. Okay. You guys are gonna have a list of stuff, of potential opportunities. If I ask any one of you, you probably have 2 or 3 things you're kicking around, right? But you pick one of them for the difference maker competition. For the difference maker competition, focus on that. Okay? Would you agree, Holly? Okay? But in true entrepreneur thinking, you may get to the point where this venture, for whatever reason, you learn my technology doesn't work. The market totally crapped out. Some competitor came in and is doing exactly what I wanted to do. The key person on my team, right, left. Or whatever, right? Maybe it's time to change. That's okay. But for this, stick with the idea you have right now. Or you can take that idea and shift it a little bit. Like technology, I was looking at going after this market. That market has gone away. What if I do this, maybe add a little bit more and go in this direction? That's fine for this competition. And quite frankly, when you pitch as part of difference maker, talking to that your technology, if that first market goes away, talking to the point that you have 2 or 3 other markets that you can address. Or the technology is still a little risky, but if a piece of it doesn't work, I can take other pieces of it and use that in another way. Okay? That's okay. But focus is important at this stage. Yes, no? Okay. So, business model is this, by definition, okay? We're gonna move forward. Very quickly, it all comes down to what you have, who you're delivering it to, and quite frankly, it needs to be differentiated. Is what you're proposing better, faster, cheaper? Some way differentiated than what's out there already, or what you perceive as stuff that's coming to the market. If you do that correctly, they're going to pay you to do the thing. If they pay you enough, that it covers all your costs, right? Even better, you become profitable at some point in time. Don't expect to be profitable in the early stages, okay? Ain't could happen, probably won't happen. And this applies for both for-profit and nonprofit, okay? Because even a nonprofit has to have a story about how they're addressing a need and they're generating funds on an ongoing basis. And hopefully it's more than just going to continue to go to the foundations and the government. And we can talk about that more. So let's take this a little more. One step further. So that core business model, now we talk about, okay, my stuff to the customer. How am I going to get it to them? And how am I going to support it once I get it out there? That's where these channels come into play. Right? Interesting thing. It's good to have help. But if you get $1 from your customer, now you need to share that dollar with your channel partner. Does it make sense? For my business model. What do they bring to the table? Say, what's a big channel partner right now for a lot of customers, for a lot of companies? 2.
Online shops.
Yeah, like Amazon, right? Who's the bricks and mortar channel partner of choice? But it's really hard to get them to carry your stuff. Walmart, yes. So we're thinking Walmart, bricks and mortar, Amazon, online, everything in between, okay? And who's going to help me on the back end with the stuff I need to do what I need to create my product, right? Build it, manufacture it, materials, manufacturing. And we put an investor over there because money is something you need as well. So here's the key. As you're trying to figure all this out, and this is your business model, all your competitors are doing the exact same thing. So your business model has to also tell the story of how you're different from them. Does that make sense? Questions? And your business model also has to look through that. How many have heard of Pesto? So Pesto, okay, talking to those broader level dynamics, macro level dynamics in the market. And the acronym talks to these 6 things that you need to keep your eye on. Maybe not spend a whole lot of time, but what if you're working in a space that's very dependent on regulations? And those regulations change. Clean energy, anything medical related, right? Environmental stuff overall. Did you see that? What's the first one I said? That our brain was. Anyway. So that stuff shifts. Yes, you can blow your business model right out of the water. Okay? So what do? Well, you can spend a bunch of money trying to change the laws, change the regulations. I don't adopt it. It's game over for a startup. Or you should. It's better if a regulation is out there that gives you a tailwind overall. The point of this is, know about it, be cognizant of it, know when to shift if stuff happens overall. And third level, value chain. In this broader space, your business model has to take into account who you're working with and where you fall within this industry value chain. So the example we like to give is the automotive space. Automotive, raw materials, components, right? Subsystems, systems, the actual vehicle, the dealer, and then the customer, right? And this ties into one of the previous slides. Everybody in that chain adds more value to the customer, and where you play and how you play dictates how much you need to do as part of your business model. Right? Are you just a component that you sell to somebody else, that they put into their thing, and then sell to the customer? Or are you know, the can manufacturer who makes the can, so you get the raw materials and the ink, you know, the steel, the ink, and whatever, and you stamp this all out, and you sell it to the bottlers, who then, in synergy with this, make the recipe, right? That gets packaged in this, and then sent to the stores. Okay? Don't know. It's up to you. So, most companies play in one of those buckets. That's fine. Sometimes you want to play in more than one. A lot of times, companies think they can do everything. In this day and age, a better strategy is to look for partners. Okay? Tesla, the car company, initially was right here. They were the vehicle manufacturer, right? Electric vehicles. That's the business we're in. So essentially a system integrator overall. But then they found out batteries out there weren't getting it done. So they said, we have to make our own batteries. So they backward integrated into the value chain and became a battery company. Okay, that's great. Then they thought about it and said, we're different than traditional vehicle. We want that relationship with our customers. How can we do it different? Can anybody explain to me Tesla's path to the customer? Hang on. Do you have a Tesla?
No. I would say that they had people like pre-order, make
Okay.
it like the hype up so that way they could earn the money or like get the money to then actually build them.
But how do they get their vehicle to the customer? Is there anybody in between?
Pretty sure they have it delivered.
Yeah, there's no traditional dealer. Did this go off? Why do you guys know it? Why the hell are we doing this? You guys are with me. So, Is that better?
It does help, yeah. It helps a
What?
little bit. It helps a little bit, yeah.
That's good. Take that off the recording. Go ahead. Now it doesn't work. Yeah, they said, forget about traditional dealers. We're doing it different. So they forward integrated into the value chain. So now they're doing more than just that bucket. So here's the question to all of you. At some point, where do you play in the value chain in your industry? So what's the first task that all of you need to do? Understand your value chain. Right? That's the exercise that we're going to do right now. Before we do that, can anybody tell me what this is? A picture of.
Canal system?
Huh?
Canal system is
Oh,
old.
look bigger than that.
Old?
It's not low. Could be low. But look what's being done.
Mills?
Yeah? What? Yeah? But for what? Oops. This is a picture of a Ford Motor Company manufacturing facility back in the early 1900s. And it takes into account Ford did everything. They mined their own sand for glass. They had their own forests for wood and rubber. They did their own steel manufacturing. They built their own components. They made their own companies. They shipped it to Ford Motor Company dealerships. They did everything. I cannot name any company today that does soup to nuts the way Ford did. Can any of you?
I have a question, actually.
Okay.
What company is that?
Ford Motor Company.
Ford, okay.
Yeah.
Just said it.
I missed it.
That's okay. Good question. Can anybody think of a company that does stuff to this level? Even the Japanese, there are very few. So the ultimate question for all of you is, understand the space I'm playing in, but then how do I actually play in it, and where do I play in it with the stuff that I'm working on? So, exercise. Blank sheet of paper. Try, if you can, to map this out for the space, the market, and industry that you're looking at overall. Don't have to nail it. I just want to get you thinking about it. In this, what are the two biggest buckets here? And it goes back here. It's you and your customer. If you can't get what you're doing and where it fits in the industry that you're proposing to interject into, if you can't communicate that piece, can't go. So let me put that up. Take about 10 minutes.
Like the one we have.
Yeah, sort of like that, but more just like.
We're flipping a brick from the ground up.
Make it into 7 different.
And this is to understand the flow.
Excuse me.
Guys, thank you. Something that I found, I should have mentioned this. Work from the customer back. Because it crystallizes what you're really focused on, and then figuring out from there. I have found that to be helpful. But that doesn't mean you have to do it that way. That exercise wasn't to go into depth on your business model. but to talk about the context into which your business model is going to play within the industry that you're talking about inserting into. Okay? If you didn't do that exercise, it's going to make the business model piece a little more challenging overall. Okay? If you want to jump in, we'll keep going. Okay. So we have one question. And we'll ask it when we get to that point. Right now. So ultimately, these are the questions that you're going to need to answer. And that last exercise was to talk about that second to last one. And so your objective with all these puzzle pieces to try to structure your business model in such a way that you have a cohesive and compelling story to tell. Let me rephrase that. You have a compelling business model that sets the context for what you're going to be telling to potential customers, investors, partners, and others. Overall. But your business model, you're not going to get up there and hold up your business model and communicate that to folks directly. A piece of that will make sense overall.
Now I think it just.
It keeps going up.
Yeah, but it was working.
So
Batteries are dead.
let me ask the question I asked you earlier. Is it okay to only exist in one of those silos of the value chain, right? You know, Tom gave the example of Tesla and how they work across subsystems, systems, full assembly, dealerships. That's good, they're making more money that way. But do you think it's okay to only work within one of those? Yeah. So, you know, who makes the most money with their laptop? Is it Dell? Probably not. They're,
Hey, wait, let's, that example, let's talk about it, right? Raw materials like oil for the plastics, right? Going into subsystems like clamps and other stuff, right? Going into the PC itself, and the housing, and all the other stuff. So you have the disk drive, the CPU, all the cabling, the display, right? Then going out into, I don't know, Best Buy, or buying it online, eventually to the customer. And you get the software that's running on that. All those pieces have to come together. If a PC costs $1,000, okay, out of all those players, who makes the most money, gets the biggest piece of that pie percentage-wise? Do you think?
profit. Because there's pieces that cost a lot, but they don't make a lot of profit.
The most attractive portion of that. What do you think? So, can first ask the question, is it Dell? Out of that $1,000, I would suggest to you, no. It's probably Intel for the chip, Microsoft for the software. That's part of that broader solution. That's the kind of thinking. It went out again. I changed the batteries. That's the thinking that I want you to embrace for this. All right. So, on your tables, you have the business model canvas, a small sheet. We have bigger sheets. We're going to very quickly run through each of these 9 buckets. And your task in a few minutes is going to be to start thinking through. Start thinking through each of these buckets and how they fit together overall. Okay? On this, what do you think the two most important buckets are. Value proposition is one. What's the other one? Somebody else. What?
Customer relationships.
Relationships? Okay, but before that,
Customer segment.
customer segments, right? Because, as we talked about, let's go back to this. That, you see that? My microphone. That's at the core of the business model. If you don't get those right, everything else truly is meaningless. Because you're going to be force fitting. We got a question on the customer segments. Can you ask that question again? That you asked earlier. Single-sided versus multi-sided marketing. Single-sided is easy. Me, my customer, direct relationship. I only really need to worry about that. Multi-sided, great example. Me, my doctor, insurance company, right? My doctor provides a service to me. Do I pay them? Maybe a copay. Most of the payment comes from the insurer to them. Me, as a let me rephrase that. Doctor to customer, right? Doctor, customer, insurer, right? Me selling to the doctor a medical device for use and him serving the end customer. I need to make sure not only selling it to the doctor, but convincing the insurers to pay for that overall. Multi-sided market. As a nonprofit, okay? Nonprofit. And there's a lot of them here in Lowell. Nonprofit, addressing a need in the community, helping the homeless, feeding those who need food. They receive payment for doing that from a foundation. The foundation pays nonprofit to serve the need because that foundation loves what the nonprofit is doing in the community. Multi-sided market. As a company, you need to know and understand all of that and how you play in it overall. So, value prop as the customer segments, those two pieces. Now, flesh them out. For this exercise, if you have more than one customer segment, and we hope you do, in a specific market that you're addressing, list them. 2, 3, 4. But focus on one of them for this. Okay? Do you want to run through these? All right. Customer segments. The point of this, the more you know about this, the better off you're going to be in terms of what's the problem, who has the problem, can I describe that in a compelling way? And it's not this company has the problem, but who within the company has the problem. If you are B2B, business, okay? Assume you'll have multiple overall. That's terrific. Okay? And this is so important. Focus on the person. So, I'm selling to a hospital. Is it the purchaser, the buying department in the hospital? Is it the surgeon? Is it the guy who's managing the whole hospital? Don't know. Be very specific. What's that value from? Are you a nice to have, a vitamin, or a must have, a painkiller? So how acute is the problem that they have? And how clearly can you dictate and define it? And define not just how you're solving it, but how you're solving it better, faster, cheaper than the other people out there, the other companies who are doing that today. How you differentiate yourselves. Is it just a little better or a lot better? Because here's the deal. You are asking your customers to change their behavior. Okay? Whether they're addressing the problem today with somebody else stuff or not. Okay? So they're going to be weighing in their minds, okay, it's going to not only cost me to do this, but I got to invest in training. I got to invest in new infrastructure. I got to invest in all these things. So your stuff is just a little better. That's not good. Strive to be a lot better. Or, even better, the only company in the space that can address that need in a way that's compelling. That's even better. Okay? Channels. We touched on this already. Walmart, Amazon, other companies. We talked about these OEMs who might, and this is great, for a lot of you, it's how can somebody take my thing, maybe bundle it together in a bigger solution, and then deliver that to the customer. Okay, that's potentially a channel. They can help you with marketing. Okay, they can help you with support. They can help you with, in the case of Walmart, physically being in the market. That's compelling. But can anybody suggest to me why a channel partner might not be good in the early days of your company? And this is extremely important. Anybody? And somebody, you mentioned it. Say what you said before.
Customer relationship.
Customer relationships. Speak to that and why having a channel partner might not be a good thing with my customer relationships. Come on.
Well, if you're going through a channel,
Nice and loud.
if you're going through a channel or a distributor,
Yep.
you're not the face of the person that they're interacting with. So you're not
Exactly.
develop relationships.
Exactly. Okay? This is huge. Okay? Why is that customer relationship important as you're refining your solutions? Why? Feedback, right? Feedback. And Professor Max nailed it early on. You are not going to have the absolute right product for the market day one. Get over it. Ain't gonna happen. Okay? Your customer is an extremely valuable resource in that early refinement. Okay? There are customers out there who love to be on the bleeding edge in a good way. You just have that reputation. You want the latest and greatest, and they have a reputation for being, you know, and they want to help you refine your stuff. That's great. Find them. Wrap a blanket of love around them. Okay? They will help you. So, to this point, that channel can be both a good thing, but this, for an early stage company in the tech space or in any space, it puts a roadblock in that relationship. Find a way to pierce that. You can. Revenue streams. Let's not spend a lot of time on this today, but how are you gonna make money? What's it look like? One price up front, a product plus services, a subscription model. Something, be creative. Be creative.
What's an industry that has changed to a subscription model substantially? Did any of you buy CDs? Did you grow up in an era where you bought CDs? Yeah, a little bit. And then now, do you buy CDs? No, nobody, right? Very few. Sorry, that was not insulting. That model has changed. And so if you're a record label, and you only sold CDs right now, how successful would you be? Horrible, right? You had to
Hey,
change.
wait, hang on. How many of you have been following that, you know, traditional LPs, vinyl LPs, it's not huge, but there is a nice market reselling vintage records.
Even new record vinyl sales goes up 100% every year.
Yeah. Okay? Now, I'm not suggesting that it's a huge market per se for 100 people, 100 companies to jump in. But what's old is new. Find a way to figure it out.
It's fun to think about how markets change. They can be technological shifts, they can be customer shifts. I mean, why is streaming music enabled now where it wasn't 15 years ago? Phones, right? Internet-connected phones. Without that, Spotify wouldn't exist, right? And so technologies can shift, prices can change. The solar market has changed substantially over the years because the price of silicon solar cells has come down so dramatically, so businesses that were viable 15 years ago are now out of business. And so the best entrepreneurs, the best people that run businesses, are agile. They see these changes and they react to them. The ones who don't react to it go out of business, like Blockbuster. Blockbuster should have been what Netflix is now. They had the customer segment, they had the brand recognition, they had access to all the content, but they didn't change. And now, I think the last one just closed in the last one.
So, building on that example, how could, because it's happening in another space, how could Blockbuster have shifted their business model to not go out of business? Because what did they have? They had that customer relationship, right? What could they have done? And it's taking place in another business.
Red box, kiosks, like,
Potentially, yeah. Red box kiosks. So automate the process, right? What else? What else?
Online now.
Yeah? But I would suggest to you, okay, my relationship is, I don't have a relationship with the red box, right? What could, because they had all that geography, could Blockbuster potentially have done because they had the customer relationship?
Streaming service or what Netflix used to do, where they would send out DVDs.
Yeah? Guys are going in the wrong direction, a different direction. Not wrong, but different than I was thinking. I like this, okay? Use their customer base to market, okay? Blockbuster stores, I would just walk in there having no idea what I wanted to watch, right? But you walked in and you've got ideas. because you talked to the person at the store or somebody else who walked in. Okay? What is Barnes and Noble and a lot of community bookstores doing today to compete with Amazon? Which, I mean, let's be serious. Buying a book, Amazon. How in the hell can local bookstores stay in business? And quite frankly, they're accelerating. How?
We make a sitting area for people to come in and read, and maybe they have a Starbucks inside of them, just so like people stay there and just basically stay there.
Different business model.
Try to create like a personal touch, I would say. Like
Boom.
to make the welcome them. Make sure.
New business model. Hospitality. New business model. Their customer base, with their permission. With their permission, maybe use that to sell other services. Okay? This is the kind of thing. Okay? Business model. What do you have that's of value, and what do you wrap around that to make it compelling? Great input. Key resources. What do you, as a company and a team, bring to the table? And here it is. This is the best case that nobody else can do. Okay? Now, yes, it helps that you have patents. Okay? That's terrific. And other underlying resources. Okay? It's the guy. So, intellectual property as a whole is part of this. From patents all the way down to trade secrets and all kinds of details in between. Have the team's been given any intellectual property coaching?
Not to this point, not to.
Okay. Valuable stuff. Okay? Don't spend a ton of time now on this, but be cautious about how you manage and control your secret sauce. The stuff that's your thing that nobody else can do, especially if there's a path for a patent. Okay? And before you share too much.
Tom.
Oops, sorry, bad fingers. I'm gonna put this down. I put it down. Before, let's say I just invented a new formula for Coke. Okay? Great example of intellectual property. It's all trade secret, right? New recipe. It's great. People love it. The next thing I do is I walk out and I put it on the internet. Shame on me, right? Because anybody else can now do that. Before you share, not the problem you're looking to solve, but how do you solve it? Before you share that in any kind of detail, please go talk to Holly and the team, okay? Because protecting your intellectual property is important. Very important. Now, whether or not you are ever going to get anything formal, doesn't matter. Because your know-how, how you do things, those trade secrets, and whether or not you get a patent, that stuff is important. Because ultimately, listen to me right now, ideas are a dime a friggin' dozen. Okay? What's it all about? No, ideas are a dime a dozen. Huh? No?
The relationships that you have.
No? No? Ideas and even a patent is a dime a dozen. If not for what? No. What? Execution. Okay? Execution. You gotta get it done. Who, other than all of you, who've come up with the idea and are making it happen, who else is better positioned to make it happen? Help me out. Hang on. Say that louder. Somebody with money, okay? Maybe somebody with money. But now, so many times, somebody with money, if you can convince them, they're not going to compete with you. What are they going to do?
Give it to you.
Absolutely. Okay? But the path to do that has to be done the right way. And we can advise you to do that the right way, because you can mess it up. Okay? You can, very easily.
Tom, can I throw two? And at the Ideas Challenge, we give away $15,000 in legal services. So in-kind legal services, we have a sponsor. So if you're interested more in IP, in getting a patent, incorporating as a business entity or a nonprofit, you can actually win one of those prizes at the Idea Challenge as well.
I played in that space before I came to UMass Lowell 7 years ago. That business development, venture development, corporate development space, looking at investments, acquisitions, strategic alliances, okay? It's a dance on both sides, okay? We could spend all day on that. You guys are in the best position because you had the idea, you're moving it forward, okay? And somebody else, your challenge is to convince them that as opposed to them doing it on their own, hey, work with me, okay? Remember that slide I put up? Who are you looking to convince? They're one of them. Key activities, the stuff I have, how I organize it, okay? We can talk days on this. Let's go to the next one. It includes those key partners. One of the most critical decisions that companies make today. Inside my company, a strategic partner. Okay? Try to keep it all in-house. Work externally. Okay? Lean on the side of work externally. It'll help you accelerate. But then the question is, where do I draw the line? What is my secret sauce, my core competency or competencies that I am not partnering with? Okay? There's no one right answer. And you have to really look at that and say, what are the risks? What are the rewards? What makes sense for me? Okay? What, this is real quickly. Strategic partner. 1 or 2 or 3 risks with that. And you already said one of them. A risk with a strategic partnership. Okay.
Them pulling out of it, like somebody giving up on you.
Yeah, potentially pulling out. And it falls apart. Trying to take over, like steal your intellectual property. So your IP gets compromised, right? Just so you know, as a startup, big company infringes on your IP, unless you have another big company behind you, back up right there. Look for something else. Game over. Okay? You do not have the financial resources or the attention and time, because as a startup, what do you need to be focused on? Your technology and your company, your product and your market, right? If you're spending, and let's be serious, 90% of your time or more on litigation with a big company who's stealing your stuff, it's game over. Back up and look for something else. You messed up in what you did before that. That's the reality. So, another one.
No, I have a question.
Nice amount.
When you form a partnership or collaboration with another business, is there any form of
Oh my God. Yes. I can talk soup to nuts on that. Yes. The question was, are there any formal documents? Absolutely. But the way I like to talk about it, okay, do you get married on the first date? No, right? So there's a process from identifying who you want to date. Once you go from dating to getting married, get married, and having all the process, how do we manage our marriage, right? And then, God forbid, what happens if we get divorced? And you don't figure it out there. You figure it out way back here with a prenup, which is part of the documents. Okay, the terms of you figured out way back here before you pass it to the lawyers so they can hash out all the details. So maybe with a memorandum of understanding on general terms, responsibilities, who's going to share what, how are we going to share the pie, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, does that make sense? What are two benefits of a strategic partner? Well, that's, so, limited liability. Yeah, they're sharing the risk, right? They're sharing the risk. What's the flip side of the shared risk?
Share profit.
Yeah, that's a bad thing. You have to share the pie, right? That's okay. But what's the balance? What's another benefit?
More expertise. Give more expertise.
Yeah, expertise. Maybe they have a market position, resources that you don't have, right? But to your point, how do you figure that out and go through that whole process, right? Cost, manage, we're not going to sweat on this one, but just be cognizant. What are those big things that are going to be make or break costs? Expensive materials, really expensive equipment, high-priced employees, intellectual property prosecution and maintenance, marketing and sales. And how are you going to do that? Like, what are those things? And there's no one right answer. But remember that equation? Money you bring in minus this. If that's not at some point kind of look to in the black, so it's profitable. And that's the story you have to tell your investors. Hey, trajectory to profitability at some point. And putting that all together. And at this stage, and thank you before, right? When you said, now put a stake in the ground. Okay, all of you. You wouldn't have submitted for difference maker if you hadn't thought through. Have some assumptions on all of these, even at a high level. The exercise now is to put a stake in the ground and say, this is what we think right now. It's going to change. But if you don't have a starting point, good luck to you. Good luck. Right? And sound good, we'll get refined. You'll hear us say so often, pivot, shift, move. You learn something. Learning is good. How many times did did Thomas Edison mess up with the filament for the incandescent light bulb before he finally got to the right thing? Say it?
900.
Yeah, a lot. Hundreds. Right? He learned, he shifted, eventually got there. That's the point. So, for this one, okay? Focus for this exercise on those buckets. Us, customer, value we bring, okay? And at a high level, I can sneeze. It's not gonna come. How do you envision getting it to the market? You, customer, and customer segments. List, I don't know, if you have them, a half a dozen. But prioritize, because for difference maker, you're picking one. But for this exercise, list them, okay? And customer relationships. How do you envision getting the word out to those customers? Because even if you have a channel partner, that customer preference is still up to you. The messaging, working with your channel partner to make that happen. Does that make sense? We have stickies and the big handouts. Use these because you'll be slapping them around, moving them around, and stuff will change. Try. Last request. For this one, value proposition. You may not have the answers tonight, but I'm a stickler for be as specific as you can with differentiators. Are you 10% better? Are you 15% lower cost? Are you, and I don't, you shave off 2 hours in the amount of time to do X, Y, Z. Be as clear as you can, because that's the starting point that says, do I have something that's compelling for that market? All right? All right.
And on the business models, please don't write on the paper, write on a sticky note and then paste the sticky note to the poster. So if you need more sticky notes, let me know.
Wait, so you all have to wait, you have the two.
How do I explain it? Like it's not, like it's just
You can be decent for it, you can pay off the citations, or you can appeal the citations straight.
Because like I found one thing that bragged about how well they block bacteria, but by the same
Having done this for a number of years and been in startups, you find out that like it's the nicest markets because you
A couple of closing remarks. It's about 7:40 now. Just to respect all of your time, you're welcome to stay and work for a few more minutes if you wish, but the event is closed at 7:30. So a couple of closing remarks. Workshop 4 is Thursday. Same place. We'll have dinner. We'll have some guest speakers. And Thursday's workshop is on rocket pitch coaching. So I'll help you develop your problem opportunities, solution, and resources, and putting it into a PowerPoint presentation and getting you comfortable with that pitching.